Yeah. How's it going, fam? I'm back at it. This is a new series we're going to be starting off with. We're going to be touching on a lot, so I basically just want to, get to it. I'm glad y'all chose up. I'm glad y'all chose to click play and, come back to this water. I know you hear it in the background. Get your thoughts stimulated. Let that stress go. Get your mind right. Good day, my copper-colored people. My Indigenous Americans. And everybody choosing up with the Creator, man. From this plane, we are Indigenous too. Alright? Hope that everybody out there is doing good. So, as you know, we're dealing with the copper-colored people. Right? You, Indigenous American, Native American, Aboriginal American. Alright? That was found here by the European. It seems that a lot of people got the game twisted, man. A lot of people are comfortable in this reality that they're in. Their reality that they formed by replacing you. Copper color. You, so-called black. So-called African of America. Nah, you've been here. You are the American, the original American. This is what we're here for. Alright? Now, as a European contact, the term American now applies to the Europeans and their descendants that are now born in America. Right? You see people like this and you call them American. But they call you everything else. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to highlight this, alright? We're going to dig in on this even more for my copper-colored people. Alright? Just want y'all to follow along, man, because there's a lot more to this racism. There's a lot more to this cover-up. There's a lot more to this scandal. And we're going to get right into it. We're going to get right into it. So yeah, I hope everybody's doing well, man. I hope my copper-colored people are doing well. When we say copper-colored people, we mean American. A native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper-colored races found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. A native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper-colored races found here by the Europeans. So this is a whole region, alright? We're going to focus on this region, okay? And I need you to understand that you were originally a native of America as the copper-colored race. Without the Europeans influencing your genetics, you were already here. Alright? So, I want to take you guys over here to Enoch. We're going to start off in the book of Enoch. And I know many of you are familiar with it. For those of you who are not, a lot of people get testing. I'm gonna show you why. I'm gonna show you why people get funny about this book. But yeah, we're just gonna dig. We're gonna take what we need out of it and spit out everything that we don't need. We're getting in for the meat. Alright? Real talk. We're gonna get it. So yeah, we're gonna start off in the book of Enoch, chapter 7, and we're gonna deal with chapter 7 and chapter 8. Okay? You guys know how we do it over here. We read. So let's start. Book of Enoch, chapter 7, verse 1. And all the others together with them took unto themselves wives, and each chose for himself one. And they began to go into them and to defile themselves with them. And they taught them charms and enchantments and the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants. And they became pregnant, and they bare great giants, whose height was 3,000 ells, who consumed all acquisitions of man. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. And they began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh and drink the blood. Then the earth laid accusation against the lawless ones. I know a lot of people read the book of Enoch and they get worried and they get scared. They imagine giants and high statures and things that you see in Lord of the Rings. But I mean, that's what we're dealing with when we're talking about ancient times, right? So this led to a result of corruptible breeding. Right? These angels left their point of position, and they decided to take things into their own hands. And exactly as you know it, they exercised so-called free will, right? And chose to do this, and these things led to consequences, man, that are still affecting us today. People like to skip over it. They don't like to talk about it, but I'm going to show you why. Because a lot of these giants, these offsprings, a lot of them still are here. You just don't know it. You just can't see it. You're unaware. This is what we're going to break it down in this one. Now, I'm not saying there are giants walking around right now for you to go walk outside and get proof of. What I'm trying to say is that these corruptible genetics survive. And they're still present in our world, still causing the same catastrophe. We'll continue on with verse 8. Chapter 8, verse 1. And Azazel taught men to make swords, and knives, and shields, and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth, and the art of working them, and bracelets, and ornaments, and the use of anatomy, and beautifying the eyelids, and all kinds of costly stones, and all coloring tinctures. And there arose much godlessness, and they committed fornication, and they were led astray, and became corrupt in all their ways. Simjaza taught enchantments and root cuttings, Amaros the resolving of enchantments, Barakarjal astrology, Kokobel the constellations, Ezekiel the knowledge of the clouds, Erikiel the signs of the earth, Shamsiel the signs of the sun, and Sariel, the course of the moon. And as men perished, they cried out, and their cry went up to heaven. These hybrids between angels and women from a time ago created havoc and chaos, and then upset the natural balance the Most High had installed. See, these books were removed out of the canon you know as the Bible by the Council of Nicaea. Alright? They didn't want anyone accessing these kind of details because it all links, it all connects. So we're going to be dealing and stemming out of Enoch. Alright? I want you guys to see how it says that these angels brought all of this knowledge to man. But it was all corrupted. They took the wives of men for themselves and created hybrid children that are unnatural. Alright? Azazel, right, as we just read in the Bible in association with the scapegoat, right? In some traditions of Judaism and Christianity, it is the name for a fallen angel. Fallen angel. Yes, there are fallen angels, and yes, they do fall. We know them as the watchers. See? Angel. Right? Watchers. Those who are awake. Guard. Watcher. Angel. Alright? Angel. So yeah, we're talking about angels. We're talking about watchers who left their heavenly positions. Azazel, right? Fell. He left his position. He decided that he wanted to make a hybrid race against the command of the Most High, along with others. Okay? But this is just to show you that it's talked about. Even though you don't want to talk about it, it's talked about. Alright? We're going to go to Daniel 4 verse 23. And it reads, "And whereas the king saw a watcher and a holy one coming down from heaven, and saying, Hew the tree down and destroy it, yet leave the stump of the roots thereof in the earth, even with a band of iron and brass, and tender grass of the field. Let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beasts of the field, till 7 times pass over him." Again at the top, right? "And whereas the king saw a watcher and the Holy One coming down from heaven." The king saw a watcher and the Holy One coming down from heaven. The king saw a watcher and the Holy One coming down from heaven. Alright? Watcher. From the root corresponding to a watcher, that is an angel. You guys see it right there for yourself. Alright? The Greek concordance for the word watcher is angel. Alright, so we're talking about angels who come down from heaven. Alright? Who come down from heaven. That's why we're talking about this. Because it was known knowledge. Alright, our ancestors knew that these angels left their positions. Alright? So that's what we're dealing with. Azazel, who was a watcher. Right? See this right here? Gregory. Alright? Angel. I want you to keep that in mind. Alright? Hold on real quick, you guys. Hold on. Sorry about that, fam. Had to get the door. But, yeah, so we're talking about angels coming down from heaven and how this information wasn't new to our ancestors, as we read in Daniel 4:23. Now this passage is about King Nebuchadnezzar and David interpreting the dream, right? But notice how it says the watcher came down from heaven. Okay, so this is not the only place where we're going to see the Bible mention angels coming from heaven onto earth. Okay, but we're going to basically use this one to focus on, since it's simply right there, coming down from heaven. All right, Daniel 4:23. Now that we're aware these watchers, these angels, fell down from their position, we read that in the book of Enoch, they took wives, right? And they began to defile themselves with these women. They took these women and they raped them, right? And then these women became pregnant. And they gave birth to hideous, unimaginable offspring. Alright? And I know a lot of people say, oh, well, giants are not real, they're not this, they're not that. Well, I mean, they are. And that's exactly why we're dealing with this. Alright? Now, I'm not saying that they're around right now, but their children are. Right? Increasing corruption on the earth. The corrupted seed, right? Genesis 6:1. And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw that the daughters of men, that they were fair. And they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Most High said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown. And God saw the wickedness of men was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Alright? The Most High is telling you an ancient recording of this corruption, this corruptible inbreeding, alright, that took place. And as you see, they survived after that. Alright, in those days and after. So we're going to catch up with those that survived after. That's what we're dealing with. Alright? Things that these fallen angels taught these hybrid offspring of theirs. Nephilim. According to Genesis 6:4, the Bible, the Nephilim were the offspring of the sons of God and the daughters of men before the deluge. According to Numbers 13:33, they later inhabited Canaan at the time of the Israelite conquest of Canaan. An either similar or identical biblical Hebrew term read as Nephilim by some scholars or as the word fallen by others appears in Ezekiel 32:27. So this is known, man. You guys gotta get on board. Alright? We're dealing with the Most High. Alright? And if you're originally the Aboriginal and you're copper color, to be Aboriginal is to be from the land itself. And I'm pretty sure these people look a lot like the land itself, making this an unnatural, corruptible hybrid. So this is what we're dealing with. Alright? Nephilim. Alright? Offspring of the sons of the Most High. Right? Genesis 6. The sons of God saw that the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. Alright? So they failed to do their thing. And now we got this mess with this corruptible seed all over the planet. Alright? Now, I want to bring you guys into a video. And, it's about 3 minutes and we're going to dig on it for a little bit. And, yeah. I want you guys to, pay attention to that. And I suggest that if you hear these terms that this voice speaks in and you don't understand any of the wording, to just pause it and look it up and come back. That'll be your best move. Alright? For the fair use, sorry. For the fair use. Let me hit pause on this joint real quick. And we're gonna come over here. Alright? Let's go.
DNA extracted from a skull and a molar tooth of ancient human remains discovered in the southern Caucasus region of Georgia is helping sort out the multifaceted ancestry of modern Europeans. Scientists said on Monday they sequenced the genomes of two individuals, one from 13,300 years ago and the other from 9,700 years ago, and found they represented a previously unknown lineage that contributed significantly to the genetics of almost all modern Europeans. These individuals were members of hunter-gatherer groups that settled in the Caucasus region, where southern Russia meets Georgia, about 45,000 years ago, after our species trekked out of Africa to populate other parts of the world.
Did you hear how she said our species trekked out of Africa? She said our species trekked out of Africa. Pay attention, because we're going to be dealing with more of these origin points as we go forward in this series. Alright? Remember, this is part 1 of this series.
He's trekked out of Africa to populate other parts of the world. At the time, species trekked out of Africa to populate other parts of the world. About 45,000 years ago, after our species trekked out of Africa to populate other parts of the world. At the time, Europe was populated by Neanderthals.
What? This is what we're talking about. Now again, this is not me saying this. This is this voice saying this. And I'm pretty sure the voice was put together by people who actually have access to this information. So again, we're just using the information provided to continue to provide it to others.
The world. At the time, Europe was populated by Neanderthals. The Caucasus hunter-gatherers later became isolated there for millennia during the last ice age, the scientists said. The thaw at the end of the ice age brought them into contact with other peoples, leading to the advent of a culture of horse-riding herders who swept into Western Europe around 5,000 years ago, bringing metallurgy and animal herding skills, they added.
Bringing metallurgy, right, and animal skills. Then we read here, and he taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth and the art of working them. Alright, and we're talking about a long time ago. Now remember, the Nephilim were the offspring of the sons of God. She just referred, oh my bad, wrong. She just referred to them being Neanderthal. We're going to dig on this some more. Alright, so keep all of this in mind.
Region, where southern Russia meets Georgia, about 45,000 years ago, after our species trekked out of Africa to populate other parts of the world. At the time, Europe was populated by Neanderthals. The Caucasus hunter-gatherers later became isolated there for millennia during the last ice age, the scientists said. The thaw at the end of the ice age brought them into contact with other peoples, leading to the advent of a culture of horse-riding herders who swept into Western Europe around 5,000 years ago, bringing metallurgy and animal herding skills, they added. Modern Europeans are a mix of ancient ancestral strands, Trinity College Dublin
Ancient ancestral strands. Ancient ancestral strands. Offspring of the sons of God.
Ethicist Daniel Bradley said, the only way to untangle the modern weave is to sequence genomes from thousands of years ago, before the mixing took place. Until now, only 3 such ancestral...
What mixing are they talking about?
Before the mixing took place. Until now, only 3 such ancestral strands had been identified flowing from ancient populations. The Caucasus inhabitants comprised a previously unidentified 4th strand, said University of Cambridge geneticist Andrea Manninger, noting that they contributed significantly not only to the ancestry of Europe but also to people in Central Asia and the Indian subcontinent. Bradley called the finding a major new piece in the human ancestry jigsaw. The Caucasus region is located at a crossroads of the Eurasian landmass, with nearby migration routes heading both west and east. The Caucasus hunter-gatherers lived in caves and in small groups of probably no more than 20 to 30 people.
They lives.
The Caucasus hunter-gatherers lived in caves and in small groups of probably no more than 20 to 30 people, University College Dublin archaeologist Ron Penhazy said. One of the two sets of remains come from the Kosh's Kilda Cave, near the village of Sperry in western Georgia, and the other remains come from about 25 miles, 40 kilometers, away in the Satserbalia Cave near the village of Kumastavi. That was published in the journal Nature Communications.
Alright, so you saw how they mentioned how they were dealing with the metallurgy, right? Metallurgy, the branch of science and technology concerned with the properties in their production and purification. Alright, so let's get back to this water. So, metallurgy. We saw it, right? This was the culture that we were watching, right? Just so we're not tripping. Bam. Right? The Yamna. Okay? It says the Yamna culture, also known as the pit grave culture or the Orkra grave culture, was a late Copper Age of the region between the southern Bug, the Dniester, and the Ural rivers, the Pontic steppe, dating from 3500 to 2300 BCE. The Yamna culture is identified with the late Proto-Europeans and is the strongest candidate for the Uramite, homeland of the Proto-Indo-European language. Yamna and Yamnaya are borrowed from Ukrainian and Russian, respectively, and both mean pit grave. The root cases is yama, meaning pit. Pit grave culture. Pit grave culture. Alright fam, hold on one more time for me. One more time. Alright, yeah, so we're talking about the Yamna, right? And it really dawned on me that this is why they constantly project their racism and their stereotypical views upon the copper color races. Mind you, we're talking about, right? We're talking about, right? Because this is the word in Hebrew, right? I'm sorry, not Hebrew, in Greek. I'm sorry. The abyss, right? Bottomless, unbounded, the pit, right? Abyssos. Variation, deathless, specially infernal, abyss, deep, bottomless pit, right? They said they're part of the pit grave culture. You see what we're reading? And we're talking about, again, Europeans, right? Now this particular culture is known as the pit grave culture, right? And in Greek, they're telling us that abyss is synonymous with the pit, being of the lowest parts of the earth, used as common receptacle of the dead, and especially as the abode of demons. Alright? But nah, it doesn't stop there. Abyss, Latin from abyssus, depths of the earth or sea, primordial chaos, depths of the earth, bottomless pit, hell. Right? Aren't they always talking about they came out of chaos? Right? It says bottomless pit. Right? Bottomless pool. Right? Bottomless, unfathomed, hence generally enormous, unfathomable, right? The great death, right? The underworld, the bottomless pit, right? Bottom, right? Death, right? To home. In Hebrew, original chaos, right? To home. See, they took it out. Original chaos, right? Hell. Talking about abyss. Pit grave culture, man. This is why they placed you at the bottom, Negro. You were an American, a native of America, originally Aboriginal, copper color races, who were found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. So they put you at the bottom. Because this is where they come from. Did you know? The offsprings of the Son of God, and all others together with them took unto wives, and each chose for himself one, and they began to go into them and to defile themselves with them. Alright? We heard that they practice in metallurgy, this Yamna culture, right? We also learned that they were Neanderthal. Nephilim, Neanderthal, right? In reference to a type of extinct hominid. Remember they said ancient DNA. From German Neanderthal, from the Neander Valley. Name of a gorge near Dusseldorf where humanoid fossils were identified in 1856. The place name is from the Grecized form of Joachim, Newman, literally meaning new man. And it came to pass when the men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw that the daughters of men, that they were fair, that they took themselves wives of all which they chose. And the Most High said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he is also flesh. Yet his days shall be numbered 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that. Not you. You are not this new man. You are the old man. You are the Aboriginal. You are the native. You are already here. Right? Let's look at another reference. This is Job 30 verse 3. For want and famine they were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness in the former time, desolate and waste, who cut up mallows by the bush, and juniper roots for their meat. They were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief, to dwell in the cliffs of the valleys, caves of the earth, and in the rocks. Among the bushes they brayed, under the nettles they were gathered together. They were children of fools, children of base men. They were viler than the earth. And now I am their song. I am their byword. I mean, Joe just broke it down for us, y'all. And we're going to break it down for ourselves. For want and famine they were solitary, sterile, desolate, solitary. Right? Gamud, right? Gamud. Hard, barren, harsh, bleak, of a company of wicked men, barren of a woman. Gamud, probably by prolong from age 1563. Sterile, as in wrapped up too hard. Figuratively, desolate, solitary. For want and famine they were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness in former time, desolate and waste, who cut up mallows by the bushes and juniper roots for their meat. Fleeing into the wilderness, right? Check this out though. It is the name for a fallen angel, designating the goat to be cast out into the wilderness, as opposed to the goat sacrifice. So this is different. We just read here, fleeing into the wilderness. They were driven forth from among men. They cried out after them as after a thief. By analogy, the middle. Wait, what? Follow me, okay? It says the middle. Now look, we read here in Jubilees 8. verse 11. Jubilees 8, verse 11. And he called his sons, and they drew nigh to him, they and their children, and he divided the earth into the lots, which his 3 sons were to take in possession. And they reached forth their hands, and took the writing out of the bosom of Noah their father. And there came forth on the writing as Shem's lot, the middle of the earth, which he shall take as an inheritance for himself and his sons, for the generations of eternity. The middle of the earth. They were driven forth from among the middle. The middle of the earth. Among men they cried after them as after a thief, to dwell in cliffs, chasms, right? Cliffs, chasm, right? Horrible place, cliffs, right? In the valleys, right? Dwell caves, holes. This is what valleys mean. Alright? Caves. See? Caves. Valleys. Right? Notice how it mentions right here. Let me see if we can get that back. Flood, in which a brook runs, also a shaft of a mine, brook, flood, river. Okay. Among the bushes they brayed. They screamed from hunger. Alright? Under nettles. Right? Bramble. They were gathered together. It says that they were the children of fools. Stupid, wicked, especially impious. Impious, right? Fool. Vile person. Right? They were the children of vile beings. Isn't that what we read in Genesis 6? There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men. Look. Alright? That's what we're dealing with right now. They were children of fools, yeah, children of base men. They were viler than the earth. And now I am their song. Yeah, I am their byword. So the Most High is their byword. And aren't we a byword to them? Aren't we a byword to them, Negro? Didn't they take your name and make you a byword? Neanderthal, new man, right? To dwell in the cliffs, they were viler. Let's check that out. Vile, morally repugnant, morally flawed, corrupt, wicked, of no value, of inferior quality, disgusting, foul, ugly, degrading, humiliating, of low estate, without worldly honor or esteem. Shameful, dishonorable, low-born, cheap, ugly, hideous. Cheap, worthless, base, common, to buy, to sell. Bam. Welcome to the slave trade, people. Yeah. This Neanderthal, this new man, this Nephilim is only doing what he was genetically put here to do. I mean, you heard the voice tell you in this video, right? The pit grave culture. Right? But look, let's look at it. Let's check them out. Let's see what we can pull up. So this is their spot, alright? Now this is in Eurasia. This is Europe and Asia, okay? Started here with all of this. Alright, so this is their beginning. This Neanderthal, this new man. Alright? Here's where they spread. The green. We'll wait for it to pop back up. The green is where they spread. So over time, you heard a lot of that intermixing. Right? They were mixing. Slowly this happened. Now mind you, when you look up Neanderthal, they tell you that it came out of here. Alright, so spread out to all of this. Y'all seen it for yourself. Not in here. All of this. Alright? See Mongo? They went into all of this, alright? And started tampering around everywhere. Alright? This is what you're used to. So now look at all these different nationalities. You put them into play. Alright? This is what they're telling you. This is what this culture spread all within here over time, creating this new man. Oh, you thought it was a joke? When you research this Yamnaya culture, these are the pictures you get, the images you get with them. This is not me making this up. They were children of fools. Yeah, children of base men. They were viler than the earth, to dwell in cliffs, to dwell in the cliffs and of the valleys, in caves of the earth and in the rocks. See how it keeps it's trying to shut me down. You see that? It's alright though. It knows I'm telling the truth. So yeah, man. You see it, right? Neanderthal, right? New man. Let's check out some more. They came from the ice, man. They was frozen. Alright. All of this is attached to this Yamnaya culture. Yep. They were too. Remember we were looking at the map, right? And the map showed us the region. All of this. They hit up all of this. Alright. So y'all see it. It all connect. Alright. Check it out. I mean, you saw it in the map. Right? We can see it for ourselves. Does he resemble what they want to call the Native American? That European descent? But is that the definition we get here? Nah, not even close. So what's going on? So, why they call you names? Why they don't like you? Now you know. For the fallen, yo. And they put you in this situation because they are vile. They were the children of fools. Yeah. Children of the base men. They were viler than all the earth. Alright. They were driven from among the middle of man. Right? That's what we read. Shem's lot, the middle of the earth, which he should take as an inheritance for himself and for his sons for the generations of eternity. And when they found you here, you were here. But you were found here by the European. And now your name is now applied to them. This is the issue behind prejudice, behind racism, behind the hate. This is their dirty business they don't want to talk about, but they want you all damn day, Negro. They want to tell you from Africa all damn day, Negro, so they can take this. But we won't let them. We won't let them. Nephilim, offspring of these wicked angels. Right? Remember how I told you to pay attention to the Grigori? Does this look familiar? Does that sound familiar? Gregorian. Still think it's a game? And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. And they began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish to devour one another's flesh and drink blood. Then the earth laid accusation against the lawless ones. So, we got another video we're going to write out to. It's another short one. You don't see why I brought you here, because it ties back into what we started out, where we started out from. Alright? Fair use. All dizzy. We don't plizzy. But yeah, man. This is for you, fam. I mean, they want to call you a nigga all day, right? Nah. You're not with that shit. So yeah, man. Let's cut this off. And we're gonna enjoy. Alright. Again, anything you guys don't understand, pause, look it up, come back. Alright? Let's go.
Who were the first Americans? Evidence from human remains is sparse, and very little about the origin of Native Americans is certain. To address the question this week, we actually need to start somewhere else, somewhere pretty isolated, Siberia. In the part of Russia directly above Mongolia, the average temperature about now, mid-November, is -25. But it's clear that even tens of thousands of years ago, this didn't put off human residents. Near a giant inland lake, at a well-known site called Malta, archaeologists have over the past few decades found human bones and artifacts. They're over 20,000 years old. Now a team led by Esther Villeslev, an ancient DNA specialist at the University of Copenhagen in Denmark, has taken another look at an arm bone and managed to extract some DNA. What they found told them not only about this Siberian population, but also about the journeys its genes took and places they ended up. I spoke to SK about their findings.
Some people have argued that the first people entering the Americas is around 12,000 years ago. But then there has been increasing evidence suggesting that people might actually have occupied the Americas earlier than that, maybe something like 14,000 to 16,000 years ago.
And how do people suppose that the land was populated? Who were the first Americans genetically?
The traditional view is that it's East Asians crossing the Bering Land Bridge, so just entering the Americas and spreading through the continent. Then other people have argued, that it's actually Western Europeans, who have crossed the Atlantic into the Americas. And then finally, there has been also people arguing that it's basically Melanesians that cross into South America and then spread north.
And why is it so uncertain how people might have got there?
I mean, it's because we know so little about the early skeletons, and it's also because there's, in the archaeological record, some controversies. We all know that when Europeans came to America, it was populated by Native Americans. But when you go back in the record, some people that studied different from East Asians that otherwise should have been the ancestors of Native Americans, and looks more like Europeans, for example. The other problem is that even among Native Americans today, you find a mitochondrial haplogroup called haplogroup X, which is actually very similar to mitochondrial haplogroups or mitochondrial sequences from, for example, Europeans. And that has kind of generated some of these ideas about people actually crossing from other sides than the Bering Strait in order to get, Europeans or something European-like into the Americas.
Now, your team has been hoping to shed some light on this question by analysing some genomic information from an extraordinarily old individual. Tell me about the individual from Malta.
So the Malta individual is 24,000 years old, so genome sequencing, and this makes it actually the oldest modern human genome to date. It's a remarkable site very near Lake Baikal, in the kind of eastern part of central Siberia on the border to Mongolia. And with these remains of a young kid was all kind of cultural items. One of these cultural items were a Venus figurine, and these Venus figurines, they actually found, all the way westwards from this area as well, into Europe. And when we then sequenced this genome, something very strange appeared, namely that this individual genome seems to be consisting of Western Eurasians on one side and Native Americans on another side. I mean, so parts of the genome you find today in Western Eurasians, other parts of the genome you find today in Native Americans, which is unique to Native Americans. But we found no evidence of East Asian. And then we started modeling this and comparing it, to genomic data from across the world, and it became evident that there is actually a gene flow from this Malta population, so to speak, into those East Asians that are the ancestors of Native Americans. So it's basically Native Americans are composed of the breeding, of two populations. A group of East Asians, these Malta, Western Eurasians.
And where exactly would that have happened on their journey?
Well,
they're in Siberia, East Asians are in East Asia.
Yeah.
Did they get to the Americas first and then mix, or what was going on?
We do not know the answer to that question yet. I mean, it could have happened in the old world, somewhere in Siberia, obviously, but in principle, it could also have happened in the new world. So the only way to, I would say, address, or the most direct way at least to address this question would actually be to genome sequence some of the early skeletons from the Americas. Because if that turns out to already have the mixture of the East Asian and the Malta, we know what we have before them, right?
This is an individual from the depths of Siberia. I mean, were you expecting conclusions about Native American population history when you started doing this?
When we started, I hoped that it would have some kind of relation to Native Americans, but I had never, in my wildest dreams, expected that you would have this kind of mixture in the genome between West Eurasians and Native Americans. I mean, it was like, wow, what's this?
These bones weren't found alone. You mentioned that there have been these little Venus sculptures which are present all over Europe with human remains. What does it tell you about the culture that these people might have taken with them?
It's definitely a very advanced culture. I mean, it's very detailed. So this is intriguing, and it's also, of course, interesting to think about how is this Maltese individual related to the individuals of the same time carrying these Venus figurines in Europe.
You must spend your free time, or even your work time, wondering what life was like for a population of humans that existed in the coldest period recently known to man.
Oh yeah, it has been a period which was very cold, much colder than today, but also very dry. Probably something more similar to what you see on the North American plains, but just more severely cold, so to speak, with a lot of mammoth and bison and stuff like that running around.
Oh, delicious.
Yeah, exactly.
That was S.K. Villerslev at the University of Copenhagen.
Yeah, fam. So, there you have it. They want to talk about being you, right? But yeah, look at that. Wow. Anyways, fam, y'all was able to see that. Now they trying to lay claim on the whole thing. See, we talking about the offspring, right? We're talking about watchers, right? Angels, right? Talking about Zezo, right? The one who was designated and pushed into the wilderness, right? How we read in Job. Let me get that back. For want and famine, they were solitary. Fleeing, right? Into the wilderness. In former time. So this is that past that they're talking about. That ancient connection that they're talking about. This former time. Right? Under this new man alias. What about you? What about who really is copper color? What about who really is American? What about the one the Most High put here indigenously to be the original and aboriginal of the soil? What about that? What about the Middle Earth that was inherited by the sons of Shem forever? Who you found here? Found here. We know. So copper color people, I hope you guys are doing well, man. I hope you guys learned something from this video. We'll be getting at you with part 2 soon. The Nephilim, the Neanderthal, the new man, part 1. Make sure you guys continue to vibe. Choose up with the Creator, man. Get back to that water. All praises to the Most High. See y'all next time.